Hey everyone, Make3.0Shine here, and welcome to another top 10 video. The last one I did, which was about Smash newcomers, came out really well, besides the fact that none of the characters in that video got in, but this time, after the recent announcement of Activision being bought by Microsoft, the Skylanders fandom is a bit all over the place, with many claiming that Microsoft could breathe new life into Skylanders, and others claiming it's not going to come at all. Personally, I am on the hopeful former side, and it got me thinking about 10 things I'd love to see in a potential Skylanders 7. Keep in mind these are the top 10 things I want in Skylanders 7, not the things I expect to be in Skylanders 7. So without further ado, let's discuss. Okay, let's make one thing abundantly clear. In my opinion, Imaginators was a pretty badly made entry into Skylanders series, and it seems as if most of the fans agree with me. One of my least favorite parts of Imaginators was classic NPCs like Flynn and Callie getting mostly tossed out in favor of a Skylanders Academy ad. Look how far that got them. Regardless, for better or for worse, Academy got cancelled a long time ago, meaning the probable return of fan favorite NPCs, such as Flynn, Callie, Tessa, Buzz, Mags, and Hugo, goddammit. He was the main NPC in Spyro's Adventure, got literally left behind in Giants and Swap Force, was in the beginning and ending cutscenes of Trap Team but nowhere else for some reason, was important again in Superchargers and got the same treatment as other classic NPCs in Imaginators. Oddly enough, he was still more important in Imaginators than Giants, Swap Force, or Trap Team, but I digress. All I hope is for these classic characters to come back in a potential sequel. Every game other than Spyro's Adventure has had a gimmick, but in my opinion the most significant gimmicks were in the last 3 games. Sure, Giants and Swappers are cool, but it doesn't really compare to playing as villains, racing in vehicles, or just creating your own Hellspawns. Go watch Make vs. Gate. I hope that these 3 gimmicks specifically aren't abandoned in Skylanders 7, as in Imaginators, the villains just became Skylanders and the racing mode from Superchargers was just back. Unless you're playing the Switch version, which in that case go play Mario Kart or Garfield Kart. I think it would be sick to possibly see new villain Skylanders, or maybe even new vehicles. Who knows, maybe even a new Chaos Creation Crystal or some other undiscovered element. All I hope is that I don't place down a Creation Crystal on the portal and I just receive a small sum of gold. Let me play as my Imaginators in Skylanders 7, as they were definitely the best part of Imaginators itself. Let's talk the exact opposite of gimmicks and talk about cores. In SSA, there was no gimmick, so all 32 Skylanders were cores that, aside from elemental gates and heroic challenges, were functionally the same. In Giants and Swap Force, we got an even number of gimmicks and new cores, which I'm not opposed to. Same with Trap Team, but it was kind of ruined by the fact that the cores were useless in that game as they couldn't even open elemental gates. But in Superchargers and Imaginators, there are no new cores whatsoever. Personally, I think this is a bit of a bummer, since I think a good mix of gimmicks and cores is the way to go. In fact, if they wanted to go back to their roots and only have new cores in Skylanders 7, I'd be all for it. Just give the gimmicks from the past games stuff to do and I think it works out pretty well. Something that arguably started in the first game and could be greatly expanded on due to Microsoft's input is the idea of crossover Skylanders. The first game had Spyro and Cinder, which only somewhat counts considering Skylanders is a spin-off of Spyro. In Imaginators, Activision gave us another crossover in the form of Crash Bandicoot and Dr. Neo Cortex. Of course, that's not to mention Bowser and DK and Superchargers, but if we're talking about first-party additions to a new Skylanders game, there are more options now. Master Chief and Doom Guy would be cool, but I don't know, they don't fit in the Skylanders style at all. That's not to say I would be opposed to their inclusion, I'd be hyped, but they don't seem like the best choice. Minecraft Steve is a potential candidate in my opinion, as even though he also doesn't fit the style, he doesn't fit in Smash either, and yet people loved him. It's crazy to think that as a dumb stupid child, I thought about how cool it would be if Steve was a sensei in Imaginators, and now they're owned by the same company. Skylanders skins in Minecraft, anyone? Personally, I would say the most fitting characters from Microsoft would be Banjo and Kazooie. After their resurgence in popularity after their addition to Smash, the duo would fit great in the Skylanders style. Plus, it would lead nicely into a Banjo free. Another character that's incredibly unlikely but would be nice would be a Disney Infinity character, just to kinda honor how Toys to Life died. Or just include Sonic. He has an amiibo, he was in LEGO Dimensions, he sure as hell can be in Skylanders. Something that Swap Force is constantly praised for is the pure amount of post-game content, and honestly, a lot of classic post-game content has been removed over the years. The best example I can think of is heroic challenges, which haven't fully returned since Giants. I guess I can see why, since back then there were about 48 Skylanders and now there's about 165, but still, I'm a Smash fan so I'm used to being greedy, so go ahead and bring him back. Probably the thing I want back the most though is the arena battle challenges. The Chill Bill and Broccoli Guy dynamic in Imaginators is really good and I probably like them more than Brock, so just give those two Brock type arena challenges and you've got yourself a very fun time waster. Something from Trap Team I really like is how after you beat Chaos, you can 4-star levels instead of 3-starring them, leading to a huge amount of replayability. Another feature which was never in the games but I think could be is a specific Nuzlocke mode toggle. When you start a new game, you can select whether you want your game to be a Nuzlocke or just a regular playthrough. This is an idea I've seen people suggest for Pokemon and I think it works well here too. If you need any more ideas, just look through Swap Force's post-game content, it's got a lot you can pull from. Ever since the idea of Skystones came about in Giants, it's been in every game since except Swap Force because Giants and Swap Force are made around the same time. It seems like such a minor thing, but if Skystones is absent from the next Skylanders game when even Imaginators had it, I'll riot. Which version of Imaginators? I don't care, both versions, whether it's the Giants/Imaginators format or the Trap Team/Superchargers format, are very fun. Unlocking new Skystones would be great post-game content like in Giants, and a pleasant surprise for me was the option to play Skystones in the menu in the Wii U version of Trap Team. That's an awesome feature and I'd love to see it return. I'd go on, but I don't know how I can ramble about Skystones for much longer, so yeah, just include it please. When talking about Skylanders, my field of expertise lies mostly in the Toys for Bob games. Spyro's Adventure, Giants and Trap Team are in my top 3 and well, let's just say I know too much about Imaginators and yet I know nothing. But when it comes to Swap Force and Superchargers, I dropped the ball a bit. I still like them both, but I've played the other games a lot more. While I have my problems with Superchargers, one of the best things in the game is the supercharged reposes. Things like giving Eruptor a lance, Terrafin a gun, and just making Rollerball cooler just felt like a really unique addition to Superchargers, and I think moveset revamps should definitely be carried over into Skylanders 7. What's even the point of the Giants to Trap Team reposes? They get one extra move? That's so boring. My favorite idea for a moveset revamp is Reignited Spyro. That way people who hate the Skylanders Spyro design can instead play his version of Spyro they do like. While you're at it, throw in a Hunter figure too. He's a classic Spyro character. But there are more ways to revamp movesets than just changing their design. One of the things that would be awesome to see is Skylanders if they were a different element, or if they had a secondary element, similarly to Pokemon. Another way to revamp movesets in a cool way is to fuse Skylanders together and fuse their moves. All I'm saying here is there's a lot of potential with those ideas, and I think the fanbase would love to see what the team would come up with. Also, revamp the gimmick characters too. Giants, Swappers, Trapmasters, Superchargers, Senseis, get them all in here. There are some insanely cool characters in those games which I would love to see again as a new concept. I'm not going to make any friends with this entry, and I'm not going to hold back either. Something Superchargers was praised for was the great story that it had in comparison to the other Skylanders games. Personally, I don't see it at all. Superchargers has the most polarizing story because unlike Imaginators, which is just lazy, Superchargers feels like it had really good writers that weren't allowed by Vicarious Visions to go the whole way. The best example, and also probably the worst story element in Skylanders history, is Glumshanks' Sacrifice. I'll probably make a video on this channel soon called something like Make 3.0 Shine rants about fake out deaths for whatever minutes, but Glumshanks is the worst I've ever seen. It feels like the writers wanted to have Glumshanks die, but some higher ups said otherwise. Now, what does this have to do with Skylanders 7? I think Skylanders 7 should have a more fleshed out story. No, I'm not saying someone has to die for it to be a good story, but there are definitely ways you can appeal to both the younger fans and the older fans. Appealing to the younger fans isn't too hard, it's a game involving toys. In my opinion, the best way to appeal to older fans is things like character development and lore building. One of the best examples, though not a game, is Gravity Falls. It had things like humor and characters that appeal to both kids and adults, along with the lore building that appealed to adults specifically. I'm not going to speak for the whole fandom because a lot of people will probably disagree with this, but in my opinion, Giants has the best story and writing in Skylanders history. It took a cool concept from Spyro's Adventure, being the Archeans, and built on it. If Skylanders 7 built on the almost non-existent lore and made it more prominent, I think older fans would be hooked. But that's just me, maybe I'm wrong. And I'm not sorry for what I said about Superchargers. Hooray for opinions! Everyone and their mother knew that this was going to be on the list, so here we go. Battle Mode needs to be in Skylanders 7. It's very odd that Battle Mode has only been in half of the Skylanders games and hasn't been back since Swap Force. So many new Skylanders have come out since then, and people have new favorites that they never did. As crazy as it sounds, if they wanted to, they could make Battle Mode competitive with things like tournaments. Do I think Battle Mode would ever show up at tournament? No, of course not. But it'd be funny, right? The Skylanders team has a real chance to flesh out the Battle Mode even more than it already was. I was never a big Battle Mode person, but if this isn't there already, bring in 4-player action. Bring in even more new modes. Let me play as villains from Trap Team, or hell, if you're feeling extra generous, give us the ability to make our own stages. The extra playtime Skylanders would get by bringing back Battle Mode is crazy, especially considering how Trap Team, the first game without it, is when the series started declining in sales. I'm not saying that was the reason, but it certainly didn't help. All I want in life is for the phrase Cube Dungeon, no items, stealth off only to be a valid way to play Skylanders, so make it happen. Before we get onto the number one thing I want, if you can't guess it already, I've got some honourable mentions. One of the areas where Swap Force specifically fails is that the cutscenes are unskippable. For people who just want to replay the game without having to sit through goddamn Rufus, please allow us to always skip cutscenes in the future. Relating to the battle mode, Senseis and Imaginators need to be nerfed. And for that matter, if there is a gimmick in Skylander 7, don't make those characters stupidly more powerful than every other Skylander before them. It's a cruel way to get more sales, and as we can see by Imaginators, it doesn't work. One of the many crimes Imaginators committed was the lack of story scrolls and legendary treasures. No, we do not talk about legendary selfie frames in this household. Bringing those collectibles back along with some oddballs like the Lucatron wheels would go a long way for longer playtime. The Portal Master rank has been in every game somewhat since Swap Force. I'd say the best version of it is in Superchargers, where after getting to the max level, you can switch your Skylanders paths at will. I'd love to see a Supercharger style Portal Master rank return in Skylanders 7. Maybe even have Portal Masters do stuff or be customizable like in Ring of Heroes. This is a really minor thing, but no stock music. In Trap Team, the villains' themes were mostly stock music, and I don't really have a problem with that since the songs fit and it's a lot of villains. What I do have a problem with is how Imaginator's soundtrack is mostly, if not entirely, either reused songs or stock music. Come on guys, don't be lazy, call up Lorne Balfe, and if he doesn't want to, call up someone else. What an issue I've just solved for you. Now, with those out of the way, let's get onto my super unpredictable number one pick. Online play. I know, how shocking, but the online multiplayer is genuinely the best part of Superchargers. Gabe and I have had a lot of fun in the past just playing Superchargers co-op, and I see no reason why it shouldn't return. In fact, online play affects some of the other entries on this list. Skystones Online could just be a mobile app and Skylanders fans would eat it up. This is another feature that was in Superchargers, so why not here? And of course, the most obvious use, online battle mode. It is insane how much more people would play Skylanders if they could battle their friends online with their favorite Skylanders. Like Skystones, you could literally just release a game which is just online battle mode and we'd eat it up. It's baffling to me how online battle mode never happened, especially with online racing being a thing in both Superchargers and Imaginators. If this isn't in Skylanders 7, I'm not gonna lie, I'll be genuinely disappointed because this is single-handedly one of the coolest features they could add. So Phil Spencer, if you're watching this, get to work. Well, that concludes this top 10 list. There are a lot of possibilities for the next Skylanders entry. They could release a Skylanders Gold Edition where they either port or remaster the games and put them on consoles except you don't use the figures, much like what Disney Infinity did. They could release nothing at all and Imaginate as the final Skylanders game for all time. Or they could release that Skylanders Battle Royale. All I'm saying is if they do, I need a cut of the money from that game because I inspired it. Well, anyway, do you guys agree with me or disagree with me? Make sure to comment down below what you would add in your ideal Skylander 7, or just let me know my opinions about Superchargers are wrong. I could use a good laugh. Please like and subscribe and I will see you guys next time. Bye!